Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is at it again. She's the gift that keeps on giving. She never disappoints if you think about it. I mean, you could be sitting around wondering what kind of a story to look into. You could draw a blank. News isn't big that day. And all you really have to do is go listen to something that AOC is saying, and the sheer stupidity and ignorance of it makes a story. And in this story, AOC is calling for impeaching Supreme Court justices because they won't rule the way she wants them to. Honestly, I think if the people in her district would put a big letter D on a glass of water, they could run it in a primary against her. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So as it turns out, AOC gave us a little preview of what's to come from the radical woke Marxist propaganda as they react to a number of losses in court cases by the Supreme Court. AOC actually believes that the justices on the court have destroyed the legitimacy of the court because they did not bow down to the demands of radical woke Marxist activists. AOC appeared on CNN's State of the Union with another knucklehead, Dana Bash, where she said, "I believe that if Chief Justice Roberts will not come before Congress for an investigation voluntarily, I believe we should be considering subpoenas, we should be considering investigations, we must pass much more binding and stringent ethics." Who the hell does she think she is? Give it a listen.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to, how do you do that? How are you proposing a law or a bill?
There's several ways. First, we have a Senate Judiciary Committee that is beginning the process of investigating the entanglements and conflicts of interest. Just 1 to 2 weeks before the student loan ruling, the country learned that Justice Samuel Alito was accepting gifts from billionaires who were lobbying against Supreme Court.
This is a woman who accepted gifts herself and could be fined for it. But what you won't hear AOC go on about is how Supreme Court Justice Sonia Sotomayor didn't recuse herself from multiple cases involving a book publisher, Penguin Random House, which paid her more than $3 million since 2010, according to a report. The copyright infringement cases, plural, in which Penguin Random House stood to suffer financial damage if the court ruled unfavorably, were not taken up by the High Court, but justices voted on whether or not to hear the cases. Altogether, Sotomayor earned $3.6 million from Penguin Random House and its subsidiaries for agreeing to let them publish her 2013 memoir, My Beloved World, and numerous children's books since then. AOC won't talk about this because she's a pea brain who thinks that no one else is going to know about it or remember it, and Sotomayor votes in her favor almost all the time. What about Elena Kagan? Elena Kagan did not recuse herself when Obamacare came before the court. Now, what did Elena Kagan do before she got on the court appointed by Obama? Oh, that's right. She was the Solicitor General of the United States. What does that mean? It means that she was the administration's lawyer, and it means that her office wrote the defense argument in case Obamacare ever came to court. So what happened? Obama says, I'll put you on the court, but you got to fight for my legacy. You won't hear AOC talk about that. AOC, all you have to do is look at a person's hypocrisy to know that they are a total piece of shit.
That were lobbying before the Supreme Court against student loan forgiveness. Just weeks before, we learned that he was accepting gifts from them.
She just repeated herself. AOC, her head is even more empty than usual. She wasn't prepared for a question like that.
Travel and vacations from them before he decided to vote and rule in their favor. And so I believe that. All right, so let's have him recuse himself, right? So instead of 6-3, it'd be 5-3. If Chief Justice Roberts will not come before Congress for an investigation voluntarily, I believe that
who the hell do the Democrats think they are? The Democrats are not going to start an investigation on the Supreme Court justices when they're the minority party in the House.
We should be considering subpoenas. We should be considering investigations. We must pass much more binding and stringent ethics guidelines.
He has no idea what she's saying.
Where we see members of the Supreme Court potentially breaking the law as we saw in the refusal, with Clarence Thomas to recuse himself from cases implicating his wife in January 6th.
Of course, this is the kind of argument that can be made because AOC has no idea how government works. He somehow passed an audition with the group Justice Democrats, run by Chunk Yogurt over on the Young Turks, and then got herself elected to the House of Representatives. AOC doesn't understand that the Congress and the Judiciary are two separate yet equal branches of government. AOC also doesn't understand what the court's job is. She thinks that the courts are there to confirm whatever goofy laws she and the Democrat Party pass, that it's A-OK, and somehow that magically makes everything they do constitutional. They're used to having judges in their pockets. A justice's main job is best known as judicial review, which is the ability of the court to declare a legislative or an executive action to be a violation of the Constitution, or if a power that the executive branch or the legislative branch wishes to give to themselves is not found in the text, like the Article 1, Section 8, the enumerated powers, well, then they tell them, no, you can't have that power. You got to go to the states and ask for permission, which is an amendment. She doesn't understand any of this, folks. Mark my words. This has been the case. This has been the doctrine since it was established in Marbury v. Madison in 1803. Now, granted, AOC would tell you that she wasn't born in 1803, and therefore it doesn't matter. AOC and other Democrats are obviously upset that the Roberts Court has been trying to bring our country back to the constitutional path that Democrats and other leftists on past courts have forced us off of many years ago, and that led to our country going straight down the shitter right now. The Supreme Court recently ruled against Biden's student debt forgiveness program. It struck down affirmative action in college admissions, and it ruled in favor of a Christian web designer who didn't want to be forced to make websites for same-sex weddings. And in the recent past, the Roberts Court overturned Roe v. Wade. They declared an over 100-year-old New York State gun control law as unconstitutional, and they threw out a decision that prevented South Carolina from defunding Planned Parenthood. It seems to me that AOC is very upset that all of the leftist activist things that leftists got away with for decades is being taken away from them. And I believe that AOC does not have the mental capacity to understand that those things like Roe v. Wade and government-sanctioned racism at university admissions offices and violating people's Second Amendment rights to defend themselves, that they are not allowed by the Constitution. I don't think she has the ability to understand that. AOC is like a child throwing a temper tantrum. She wants what she wants, and she wants it now. And if she doesn't get it now, she's going to go on CNN and rant about it. And when you think about it, we have Democrat members of Congress who are coming out and saying the most vile things about these latest rulings, and they are in favor of punishing people for not wanting to have their freedoms taken away from them. AOC is perfectly fine with the government forcing a web designer to have to create web pages for something that violates her conscience and her First Amendment right to freedom of religion. AOC is perfectly fine with government-sanctioned racism and that universities get to tell people that they will not be accepted to their schools all because of their race. I mean, what the hell? We fought a civil rights war for this. And people like AOC and her ilk are trying to bring all that ugliness and darkness back to America. Hopefully America is watching and they understand that the court is simply trying to bring us back to a constitutional path, because it is my understanding and my firm belief that if we do get back on a constitutional path, most of the problems that we face would go away. All right, so that's it. Thanks for watching this video. Happy Independence Day to everyone. We'll see you in the next one.